What's up, guys? Jordan McAbee here, fantasyracingonline.com, and it's Martinsville week. We got the Xfinity 500, the race before the championship finale. So obviously we have a lot of storylines going on this week. We got who's in, who's out of the playoffs. Kyle Larson's the only guy that's locked in. Got Hamlin and Chase Elliott looking good on points, and then we got, Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, Martin Truex Jr., all fighting for basically that final spot. So if Hamlin and Kyle Busch don't wreck out of this, they're probably going to lock themselves in. So it's going to be Larson, Hamlin, Elliott. And then, there's one spot left between Truex, Kyle Busch, Blaney, Logano, and Keselowski. Now, Logano's in a must-win situation. There's no way he can point in. But everyone else, it's super close, and it's going to come down to stage points. It's going to come down to where they finish and if one of them can win. And, Martin Truex Jr. is the favorite according to sportsbooks this week. Penske cars are always very strong here. Gibbs cars have been strong here. Kyle Busch has kind of struggled in this package and here at Martinsville recently, but you can never really count him out. And even, Hamlin and Chase Elliott could fight for the win. But Martinsville, short, flat track, most comparable. So when we're looking at short, flat tracks from this season, we're basically looking at 5 races. The first Phoenix race from way early in the season, got the 2 Richmond races. We got the first race here at Martinsville, and then the race at New Hampshire. Now, keep in mind, the race at New Hampshire was the one that started in the rain. Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr. wrecked early. It ended early because of night. It was just kind of a really wacky race. So take the data from that race with a grain of salt, but you can go back and look at 2020 short flats, 2021 short flats. I'd skip 2019, probably throw in 2018. Penske was the best on short flat tracks here in the Cup Series last year. But in the 5 races on short flat tracks this year, best average finish is Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., and Joey Logano, all at 4.0. I will note that Martin Truex Jr. has 3 wins on short flat tracks this year. He won Phoenix this year. He won the first Martinsville race, and he won the second Richmond race. And then Denny Hamlin has finishes of 3rd at Phoenix, 3rd at Martinsville, 2nd at Richmond, 2nd at Richmond 2, and then 10th at New Hampshire. And then Logano has been 2nd at Phoenix, 6th in the first Martinsville race, 3rd at Richmond, 4th at New Hampshire, despite being 2 laps down early with a penalty. And then he finished 5th at Richmond 2. So all very strong on short flat tracks this year. Christopher Bell is the 4th best at 5.0 average finish. You look at Christopher Bell's record. He was 5th. Let me get this right quick. No, he was 9th at Phoenix. He was 7th at Martinsville, 4th at Richmond, 2nd at New Hampshire, and 3rd in the second Richmond race. So very solid. Chase Elliott's there at 8.2. Kyle Larson's at 8.6. Ryan Blaney, 9.4. Erik Amarola, 10.4. Kevin Harvick, 10.6. Go by average running position, Hamlin, 3.5. He's like Larson is on the low wear mile and a half. So he just blows everybody out of the water this year on short flats. Ryan Blaney, next best at 6.8. Joey Logano at 7.3. Truex, 7.5. Christopher Bell at 8.5. Kevin Harvick and Chase Elliott at 8.8. Keselowski at 8.9. Then we got Byron there at 10.8. When you go by fastest laps on the short flats this year, Denny Hamlin, 304. Truex, 211. And then Christopher Bell at 129. Got Larson there at 121. I will note, taking a look at where those came from. So 49 of those came at the Phoenix race. 21 came here at Martinsville. And then 33 came at Richmond too. So basically that's propped up by 2 good and 1 decently good race for Kyle Larson. And then we got Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Kevin Harvick right there in that high 70s to mid 80s range. Now they're also running 750 horsepower package this week. It's been a while since we used that, but so the races that I threw in there basically, it's not everything except the road course races. I think they run the 750 at road course races. But anyway, taking road course races out of the equation, obviously. So we got Phoenix, we got Martinsville, we got Darlington, we got Dover, Richmond, Nashville, New Hampshire, Darlington 2, and Richmond 2. So that's 9 races right there. And best average finish on those, Kyle Larson at 5.6. Denny Hamlin 6.1, Logano at 6.2. Logano's been very good in this package. Truex 7.4, Harvick 8.3, Christopher Bell again popping at 9.9, and then Chase Elliott at 10.6. When you go by average running position, Denny Hamlin again 4.2. Joey Logano's at 7.6, Larson's at 7.8, Kevin Harvick at 8.0, Ryan Blaney 8.2, Chase Elliott 8.9, and then Truex at 9.1. When it comes to fastest laps, which are going to be very important here, this is why I'm pointing these out this week, going to be very important here at Martinsville. It's a 500-lap race. So there's going to be a ton of Dominator points. You need to nail the Dominators. And we'll talk about how to build a lineup this week. But you definitely need to nail the Dominators. And I say Dominators because there's going to be more than one. We've seen it happen like in the 2019 season. Different package. That was where you could not pass the leader. And that's where we saw Truex and Keselowski just absolutely dominate the 2 Martinsville races. We're not going to see that this time. We should see several Dominators. Fastest laps in the 750 horsepower package. No surprise, Kyle Larson, with how good he's been in some of those non-shorter races. Denny Hamlin at 370, Truex at 310, Christopher Bell again popping at 157, Chase Elliott 142, Alex Bowman at 117, Kevin Harvick 113, and then Blaney 112. Keselowski and Logano also are at 100 and above. Looking at the algorithm predicted finishing order for this race, it is super tight up top. You take a look at this. Power index goes from 40 to 36.3 from 1 through 9. That is, I can honestly say that's the closest that this thing's ever been. And what this is saying is that there's really no driver has an edge over the others. This is saying that Hamlin, Elliott, Blaney, and Logano should all be co-favorites to win with how close they are. And you could even throw Truex and Keselowski in there. Very, very tight up top. Not to mention, this doesn't take into account any narratives and any gaming that these drivers may do, specifically Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott, who are ranked 1-2. But when it comes down to it, they just have to finish the race. You know, I think Elliott has to finish 15th and Hamlin has to finish 12th or something like that. That's without stage points to lock themselves into Phoenix. Yes, they can win, and yes, they can be in position to win. But if either of those guys is running like 5th with 20 laps to go, and there's a hard-charging guy behind him, do you really think that they're going to stay in that guy's way? They're going to get out of the way because they know they just need to finish the race to get into Phoenix. The end goal this week for these guys, if they are not in position to win, I'm talking specifically Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott, is not to win Martinsville unless you're up there competing for the win. But if you're not, if you're running 3rd, if you're running 4th, 5th, the goal is to get to Phoenix and try to win the championship. So they're not going to jeopardize that. They're not going to be aggressive. They're not going to block guys. They're going to let them go. Like it's just not. It's Denny Hamlin and Chase Elliott need to be playing the long game here, and I think that's what they're going to do. So that's something that an algorithm can't really take into account. You know, this is saying that those two are the 2 best, barely over the other guys. But again, it all depends how this race plays out, and we really don't know how it's going to play out. And that's why I said, if you didn't listen to Stacking Denny's, the podcast with RotoDoc and myself this week, I definitely recommend you do it, as I do every week. But we talked about this race really sucks to bet on, and it's probably going to suck to play DFS. Now, I have a few bets in. I'm not going to go. It's very rare for me to go a race without putting at least one bet in. But DFS, I honestly don't plan on playing that much. I'm going to maybe run like 5 lineups and just go on to Phoenix and finish out this season strong. Because it's not that I don't want to waste the mental effort, but I kind of don't want to waste the mental effort of putting lineups together and trying to predict how this thing's going to play out. Because honestly, I will tell you right now, I don't know how this race is going to play out. I really don't. And I'm going to make my best guess. I'm going to bring in, what I think is definitely going to happen. But I can't tell you that my projections or anything this week are going to be super confident. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, we know who the good guys are at Martinsville, and I think, if you build around them, you should have a solid week. You obviously you have to nail the dominators, but yeah, that's where I'm at with DFS this week, and that might change. I'm recording this on Thursday night. That might change throughout the weekend. I doubt it because I'm pretty busy this weekend, but it could always change, and I could end up building some lineups and be like, wow, I really like this week. I'm going to build more lineups. But as of now, I'm going to just kind of roll with the early ones that I've made and just call it a week and enjoy this race because this should be a phenomenal race. But let's go ahead and get into the driver breakdown. So Kyle Larson, 11,800 starting on the pole. I'm really, really curious to see where his ownership comes in at because he's not a good play, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. He's not a good play. Some people are going to see him as a tournament play, as a be different play because it's Kyle Larson, and Hendrick has been good. Elliott won here last year in a Hendrick car. I would roll the dice with Larson if he was priced at $1,500 less. The fact that he's priced at $11,800 this week, he absolutely needs to dominate this race, and I just don't see it happening. The reason I don't see it happening, short flat tracks are not Kyle Larson's strength. They never have been. You take a look at, who the hell is that? Take a look at his resume here at Martinsville. He's always qualified well. He's never really raced well. And I know he's in a Hendrick car now. He was in a Ganassi car. I know. I still think Kyle Larson's a top 5 car. You're not going to get the points you need out of an $11,800 guy with a top 5 car that doesn't lead a ton and doesn't get a ton of fastest laps. It's just not going to work out. Like, if you think Larson is a good play finishing top 5 and that's it, you just don't know how DraftKings works. You don't know how the scoring works. So Kyle Larson, he finished 5th here earlier this year. He led 23 laps here back in 2017. He started on the pole. He led 23 laps and finished 17th. Started top 10 in what is that, half of his starts here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of his 13 starts he started in the top 10. His total number of laps led is 29. He's just not great at this track type. And when you take a look at the short flat tracks this year, he's not popping at all in any statistic. Let's just go by average running position here. Kyle Larson, yeah, he's decent, 11.2 with an 8.6 average finish, but those aren't the numbers you want. 5th at Martinsville, that's his best short flat track finish this year. You take a look at dominator points or fastest laps, 45 at Phoenix, 33 at Richmond 2, 21 at Martinsville. Laps led, 9. Do I think Kyle Larson's going to start out decent and might get me a little bit worried? Yes. But at the same time, he literally has nothing to race for this week at Martinsville. He's got Chase Elliott starting beside him. He's got Denny Hamlin starting behind him. He's got Truex starting behind him. Those guys want to get out there and dominate, and they're better at this track than Kyle Larson is. Honestly, I'd be surprised if Larson leads more than. I'd be really surprised if Larson leads more than 60 laps. I don't see him. I just don't see him getting there at 11,800. So, with the limited number of lineups I plan to run, I'm not going to have a single Kyle Larson lineup. If I was mass entering, I'd keep it at 5 to 10%, 10% max for sure. It'd probably be like 7% would be where just to cover my bases. But 11,800, if you're playing, there's no, you're definitely not running him in cash, and I can't even justify running him in tournaments. And tournaments are where I like to pivot to these guys like this. I just don't. I'm not seeing it work out with Larson. So that's my opinion on Kyle Larson this week. Martin Truex Jr. starts 4th. He's 11,400. He's a slam dunk play. It's Martinsville. It's Martin Truex Jr. He's running the auto owner's paint scheme, which, if you haven't heard me talk about that before, he is significantly more likely to dominate and to win when he's in that car. He's not in a must-win situation, but he has to go into this race thinking that. Look at these last 4 races by Martin Truex Jr. And you can even cut out 2019 since it was that awful package and nobody could pass. But still, won here in April, 20 laps led. Could have won here last fall, 129 laps led. Won here last June in 2020, 132 laps led. Martin Truex Jr. is really, really, really good at Martinsville. He's the betting favorite this week according to sportsbooks. He's a great play. It's honestly, you can't go wrong picking Martin Truex Jr. this week. You really can't. Like I said, he's won 3 of the 5 short flat track races this year. He's a stud at this track type. In this package, he excels. And at this track, like he checks off everything that you want in. I mentioned this on the podcast. If a driver looks good on short flat tracks and also pops in 750 horsepower data, and also, more importantly, pops in Martinsville data, it's a slam dunk play. Martin Truex Jr. is a slam dunk play. Unless he wrecks, unless he cuts a tire, he's going to be a good play this week in DraftKings. Does the price suck to get him into a lineup? Yes. Is that going to keep people off of him a little bit? Probably. So I don't mind going heavy on Truex this week. There's no reason not to. He's so good at this racetrack. William Byron starts 11th. He's $11,000. I can see him running top 5. I don't think he pays off the price though. I'd much rather have Hamlin. I'd much rather have Chase Elliott. I'd much rather have Truex. I'd much rather have Blaney. I'd much rather have Logano. I'd much rather have Kesler. Like, too many other guys that I'd rather have over Byron. And obviously that, if that's the general consensus among NASCAR DFS players, then that makes him a tournament play. But $11,000 for a guy that I just don't see putting up again, it comes down to the price. Can he run top 5? Yes. Can he get the Dominator points? I don't think so. Short flat tracks this year, 40 fastest laps in 5 races. Here at Martinsville in the first race, he did put up 22 fastest laps. I'll give him that. 22 fastest laps isn't going to do it this week, though. It's just not going to do it, even if he finishes 5th. So I don't think Byron's worth it at 11. Obviously, 11,000. Obviously, if you're mastering, you're going to have exposure there. But I just don't think William Byron can win this race, and that's the issue with him being $11,000. He's going to need to. I think he's going to need to win the race to make it into the optimal, and I just don't see that happening. Denny Hamlin starts 3rd, $10,700. He is underpriced. I think he's going to be the most likely driver to dominate this race. Starts 3rd. He starts on the inside, which is huge here at Martinsville. He starts right behind Larson. Unless Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson, I'm just thinking of the initial restart. Unless they work something out to get Elliott in line, Denny Hamlin could easily be 2nd and coming for the lead behind Kyle Larson in the opening laps, in the first couple laps. Chances of him getting by Kyle Larson and then going on to lead a bunch are, I'd say, quite high. So we take a look at the short flats this year. Denny Hamlin's been very, very impressive. Laps led, 714 over 5 races. That is impressive. I can't talk. So like I said, 3rd at Phoenix, 3rd at Martinsville, 2nd at Richmond, 2nd at Richmond 2. He had a 10th at New Hampshire. But like I said, that race was a little screwy. You go to fastest laps. Hamlin had 38 at Phoenix. He had 81 here at Martinsville. He had 89 at Richmond, 72 at Richmond 2. We go to laps led. Denny Hamlin only led 33 laps at Phoenix. Remember, that was Logano and Truex. He led 276 laps here in the first Martinsville race. He led 207 at Richmond, and he led 197 at Richmond 2. 3 of the 5 short flat track races, Denny Hamlin's led 197 or more laps. The only other guys to break 100 laps led are Joey Logano at Phoenix with 143, Ryan Blaney at Martinsville with 157, and then Martin Truex Jr. with 107 at Richmond. I think Denny Hamlin is the most likely dominator this week, and at his price point, he should be very high owned, and for good reason. This is one of his best racetracks. He's great at this track. He's been great in this package this year. He's been great on short flats this year. I mean, look at this. Hamlin's a 5-time winner here. He's, look at these stage finishes. Second, first, third, second, or first, second, first, fifth. Like, he's very good here. He doesn't need a win, but getting stage points, winning stages, dominating this race will help him to get him where, he only has to finish 25th to lock himself into Phoenix. Denny Hamlin can win this race. He can dominate this race. And I think he's the most likely to dominate early. Because there's nothing that says he won't be. Like, that's just what we've seen this season. So, 750 horsepower package, he's right there kind of with Larson. He actually has more laps led in this package than Larson, 867. Right there with fastest laps, 370 compared to 473. So Denny Hamlin, absolute. I'd almost consider him a cash play. I haven't wrote up my article yet, but I'm definitely going to be talking about Truex. I'm going to be talking about Hamlin. Like, these are the guys we need to play. Kyle Busch starts 7th. He's $10,400. I'm low on Kyle Busch this week. He sucks in this package. And yes, he's in a Gibbs car. Yes, he could turn it around, but look at these numbers. 80 fastest laps over 9 races in this package. Average running position of 13.8, average finish of 18.3. Kyle Busch at Martinsville specifically, 10th earlier this year, 9th in the fall race last year, 19th in the spring race. He hasn't been good here in a while, since 2018. Could he pull this off again? Yes. Do I think it's likely? No. I think a good day out of Kyle Busch is a top 5 with 30 fastest laps. And then for him to make it into the optimal lineup, I then think that that Truex and Hamlin are both going to have issues. So that's why I'm low on Kyle Busch this week, and that could screw me. That could end up screwing me. Kyle Busch can always come out and perform, but I'm just not seeing it this year. We haven't seen it this year at all. You look at his finishes on short flat tracks. He has 0 top 5s this year. He has a 10th at Martinsville, an 8th at Richmond, and a 9th at Richmond too. I might have a couple lineups with Kyle Busch, but I'm not going heavy on him by any means. Chase Elliott, he starts 2nd. He's 10,100. Obviously, he needs to be on your radar. He won this race last year. He finished 2nd earlier this year, 5th in the first race last year. It's whether he can dominate. Starting 2nd, it's whether he can dominate. Because I'll tell you what, starting 2nd and finishing 5th with no dominator points isn't going to do it at that price. Short flat tracks this year, Chase Elliott. Average running position of 8.8, average finish of 8.2, 73 fastest laps, and 111 laps led. He was 5th at Phoenix, he was 2nd at Martinsville, and he was 4th at Richmond too. Fastest laps, his highest was at Richmond 2 with 30. Laps led, 53 at Loudon and 58 at Richmond 2. If Denny Hamlin, like I said, a lot of this is going to depend on how this beginning of this race plays out. What happens with the running order? Does Kyle Larson somehow let Chase Elliott get ahead of him and lead? Does Chase Elliott get ahead of Hamlin on the restart and lead? Chase Elliott isn't good at restarts though. So I think for Elliott to get the dominator points that he needs, he's going to need to lead early, and I just don't see that happening. I'd rather bet on Denny Hamlin. Do I think Chase Elliott's a good play? Yes. 10,100, he's a very good play. I'd consider him a tournament play. I'm not running Elliott in cash just because he starts 2nd, but I think he's a solid play. You have to think he's a solid play. But I'd rather go Hamlin. I'd rather go Truex. I'd rather go Blaney. Again, he's lower on the totem pole than he should be. And I'd almost rather take a chance with Kyle Busch as opposed to going Chase Elliott. That's tough. That's probably too much. But anyway, Ryan Blaney starts 8th. He's $9,700. I don't get why they're pricing him at $9,700 when he starts 8th. Ryan Blaney's so good at Martinsville. Second, he was 11th earlier this year, but he led 157 laps and swept the stages. He had a late pit road penalty. Before that, 2nd, 5th, 4th, 20th. I don't remember what happened in that race. 3rd and then 8th with the Wood Brothers car. So top 5s in 5 of the 7 races with Penske. And one of the races that he didn't finish top 5, he won both stages and led 157 laps. Ryan Blaney is really, really, really good at Martinsville. I can almost guarantee Ryan Blaney is going to be a cash write-up for me. He's probably going to be in every single one of my lineups. If you follow my betting articles, you know I'm heavily invested in Ryan Blaney this week. He, FanDuel opened him at -150 for a top 10, and I couldn't stop betting it. I might have a problem there, but and that could also mean that Blaney, maybe he's jinxed this week and is going to blow a tire early in the race. But I'm willing to bet on Ryan Blaney at Martinsville. This is one of his best tracks, so definitely 100% in play. Is probably my favorite play in this slate is Ryan Blaney at $9,700. Joey Logano, he starts 5th. He's $9,500. I think Logano can win this race, but does he get the Dominator points to really... $9,500, it's a lot easier to pay off than $11,000 than of $11,800. But still, you have to get some Dominator points. Now, when we take a look at... Well, that's not good. Why does driver averages not be good? Why is it not good? Flat tracks this year. Average running position is 7.3, average finish of 4.0, 85 fastest laps, 198 laps led. So let's take a look at specific races. Logano, 2nd at Phoenix, 6th at Martinsville, 3rd at Richmond, 4th at New Hampshire, 5th at Richmond too. He's great at this track type. He had 38 fastest laps at Phoenix when he led all those laps. He had 32 at Richmond. Other than that, 3 at Martinsville, 4 at Loudon, and 8 at Richmond too. Again, he led. So Logano only gets fastest laps. So he got fastest laps at Phoenix and Richmond. He also led 143 laps at Phoenix and 49 laps at Richmond. He led 6 laps at Martinsville and 0 in the other 2 short flat track races. Logano only gets fast laps if he's leading. That's been the case with Penske for a while. I think Logano's a very solid play. I think he's going to need to get up to the lead and lead some and get some of those Dominator points, though, to get into the optimal. But pricing him at $9,500 is, I think Logano's going to be a top 3 car. I think he's going to challenge for the win. It's just going to depend whether he actually has a car that can win and can get to the front. You know, can he outrace Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson? Like even if you want to throw in Kyle Larson there, can he get around them to lead? I don't know if that happens. I really don't. I think Logano's going to be a top 5 car. He's going to be racing aggressive as hell. He needs to win. So I think Logano's a good play in DraftKings. I think he's a solid top 5 car, and I think he can win. So he does have the Jordan jinx on him this week, though, so keep that in mind. Brad Keselowski's pretty much the same boat. Like, Penske's really good here. Brad Keselowski's really good here. But same thing as Logano, just doesn't really get the Dominator points. So Keselowski, average running position 8.9, average finish of 13.4, 67 fastest laps, 97 laps led. He had a 4th at Phoenix, and he was 3rd at New Hampshire. Those are his only top 10 finishes on short flats this year. 14 fastest laps at Phoenix, 11 at Richmond, 36 at Loudon. Led 19 laps at Phoenix, led 25 at Richmond, and led 53 at Loudon. I just don't know if Keselowski gets the Dominator points. But again, if like you can do a build, and I did this early in the week. Like, as soon as these prices came out, I was like, it should not be this easy to fit in 4 Martinsville studs. Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski into one lineup. This should not be this easy. But look what you can do. Boom. Like, not super tough. Is this going to be optimal? I don't think so. Is this relatively safe? Yeah. I'd run this somewhere. You get Ryan Blaney can win, Chase Elliott can lead and win, Logano could potentially win, Keselowski can finish top 5. Like, this is pretty solid for this racetrack. But my point being, I think Keselowski's underpriced, but at the same time, does he have the Dominator upside to get into the optimal? Definitely going to lead. So essentially what I'm saying here is I don't think you should go Logano and Keselowski because I don't see both of them being able to get up to the lead. I'd take a stand on one or the other or kind of flip a coin between the two. And honestly, I'd probably go Logano over Kes, but that's just me. Kevin Harvick, he starts ninth. He's $9,000. I'm just not seeing that. Not seeing it working out. You know, he did lead at New Hampshire, but that was, like I said, that was kind of a fluke race. I think he's going to get about 8 to 12 fastest laps this week. Probably finish, you know, he could finish top 5. He'll probably finish 9th to 11th, somewhere in that range. It's not going to get it done for $9,000 on DraftKings. Without, you know, if he's a pivot off of Logano and Keselowski and Blaney and they all have issues, then obviously Harvick could somehow get in there. But, you know, 0 top 5s here since 2018. Yes, that team is running better, but I just don't see Harvick, you know, running that well to get into the optimal. But if you're looking as kind of a differentiator play, I don't mind it. And it's all based on how Harvick is running lately. I mean, 3rd at Kansas, 5th at Texas, probably could have won the race at Texas, could have won Bristol. Like, that team just brought their A game for the playoffs, and yeah, I mean, I think Harvick's a tournament play, but I don't think I'm going to write him up as a tournament play, so I don't like him that much. Alex Bowman starts 13th, and he's $8,700. It's the same thing every week with Alex Bowman. You just don't know what to expect. One week he's challenging for the win. Next week he's running 15th, and there's really no in between. You look at those short flats this year. He was 13th at Phoenix. He was, where's Alex Bowman at? There we go. Like, these are all, and these numbers just say 13th, 10th to 13th place car. 13th at Phoenix, 34th in the first Martinsville race. He won Richmond. 9th at Loudon, and then 12th at Richmond too. 50 fastest laps over those 5 races and only 10 laps led. Here at Martinsville specifically, Alex Bowman, 6th and 6th in both races last year. It could work with him starting 13th. Getting those, like, if he finishes 6th again, I'm not seeing the speed. I'm not seeing the speed out of that car to get there this weekend. I'm just not. No, I'd rather go Christopher Bell starting 12th, $8,400. You talk about consistency on short flat tracks this year. Christopher Bell pops in most of this stuff. Average finish of 5.0 on short flat tracks this year. Average running position of 8.5. 129 fastest laps. That's what I like. So, Bell, 9th at Phoenix, 7th at Martinsville, 4th at Richmond, 2nd at Loudon, 3rd at Richmond too. He's really good at Richmond, by the way. Like, that's one of his best tracks. But 10 fastest laps at Phoenix, 14 at Martinsville, 11 at Richmond, 20 at Loudon, and then 74 fastest laps at Richmond too. I love the Christopher Bell play this week, and I know my projections will as well. Just looking at the early numbers, like I said, I haven't got them completely done yet, but looking at early numbers, I think Bell's going to pop. He only has 1 start here at Martinsville in decent equipment. It was earlier this year. He started 23rd. He led 9 laps, and he finished 7th. He was 15th here last year with Levine. I really like the Christopher Bell play. I think you can load up with we'll do some lineups later, but I really like Christopher Bell at $8,400. Tyler Reddick starts 18th, and he has $8,200. I think a lot of people are going to, if they're in this range, are going to go to Tyler Reddick just for the place differential play. But how can you trust Tyler Reddick? Short flats this year. Reddick, average finish of 17.0, average running position of 14.7, 20 fastest laps. So he doesn't get fastest laps. He finished 8th at Martinsville the first race, 29th at Phoenix, 20th at Richmond. He was 13th at Loudon, and then 15th at Richmond too. Reddick's one of those guys that he could easily go and run top 10, maybe even get top 5. But he could also disappoint like he did last week, like he did in the 2 races here last year. Potential's there with Reddick. I don't think you can ignore him completely. But again, if I'm putting lineups together and I have $8,400 left or more, I'm going to go to Bell over Reddick for sure. But I will have some Reddick exposure for what that's worth. Erik Amarola starts 23rd. He's $8,000. Don't love him. I like Erik Amarola as a short flat track racer. But Martinsville, he's just not great at. And Martinsville's a little different beast than a typical short flat track. Did finish 7th here last year. We're taking out 2019, so don't count that. 11th, 14th, 18th, 18th, 15th. I just don't see... I think Amarola is a decently safe option. Take a look at short flats this year. Erik Amarola, average finish at 10.4, average running position at 13.8. 13th at Phoenix. Oops, wrong guy. 11th at Phoenix, 20th at Martinsville, 6th at Richmond, 1st at Loudon, and 14th at Richmond too. I think in all likelihood, Erik Amarola is about a mid-teens guy. And coming from 23rd, if he can finish top 12, he can get there at 8,000. I don't hate Amarola, but I don't think he's a slam dunk play like he was at Loudon or that he was at Richmond. I don't think there's going to be that speed, but I'll definitely have some Erik Amarola for sure. Starting 23rd and only $8,000 and being that strong on short flat tracks, I think you have to have exposure to Amarola. Kurt Busch starts 10th. He's $7,900. He's not great at Martinsville. This year on the short flat tracks, he has 0 top 10s. Here at Martinsville specifically, Kurt Busch, 5th and 9th last year. I think at best he's like an 8th place car, and I don't think it gets there at $7,900. I just hate the price. If I'm in this price range, I'm going Bell, I'm going Amarola, I'm going Reddick, and I'm probably going DiBenedetto or even Bubba Wallace if I'm in this price range. Matt DiBenedetto starts 21st. He's $7,700. I think he's going to be lower owned than he should be because of his price. It's not a good price to work with, but Penske is really good at Martinsville, and Matt DiBenedetto is really good at short flat tracks. He was 14th at Phoenix this year. He was 12th at Martinsville the first race, 9th at Richmond, 11th at Loudon, and then 18th at Richmond too. And we take a look at DiBenedetto's results specifically here at Richmond. 12th, 10th, 7th, 16th, 20th. Two of those last two were with Levine and in 2019. So with Wood Brothers, he's 7th, 10th, and 12th at Martinsville. DiBenedetto, I think, is a solid play. I don't love the price, but it's drivers like that where you don't love the price that can end up getting into the optimal and being good tournament plays because a lot of other people aren't going to like the price either. Bubba Wallace starts 17th, $7,600. Like this, I think you're in this range and you're picking between these guys if you're mass entering. I don't think you're running these in if you're just doing like a single lineup unless you're really trying to differentiate yourself. So Bubba Wallace, this is probably his best racetrack. I will say that. And I see the upside. Like I like that he's in basically a Gibbs car. He ran 16th here last time. He was 11th with Petty in 2020. 2019, we talked about that, but 17th and 13th. Like, Bubba Wallace is pretty good at this racetrack. Not many people are going to pick him because of his price and the starting position. So I could see being overweight on him, but he's not one of those drivers I'm going to be crazy overweight on him. If I'm in this price range, I don't mind going Bubba Wallace. I really don't. And basically a Gibbs car, and this is his best track. I like that combination. Ross Chastain, he starts 16th and $7,400. Third average finish at 13.2 on short flat tracks this year, and average running position at 15.7. 19th at Phoenix, 17th at Martinsville, 15th at Richmond, 8th at Loudon, and 7th at Richmond 2. I like that improvement with Ross Chastain. Now, you take a look at Ross Chastain's record here at Martinsville specifically. He was in a bunch of junk cars, but 29th with a premium motorsports car is a pretty good run. He was 17th here last time in April. You got to think he's going to improve that. He's like Bubba Wallace. I don't mind it. He's like Matt DiBenedetto too. I don't mind it. I really don't. It's just, can you get there with lineup builds this week? I don't think you're in this price range. And that's my problem with these guys is, yes, they could be good options. You see the opportunity there, but I don't know if you're going to be there with your lineup builds because it doesn't make a lot of sense to if you're not going to load up on the dominators. And we'll get to lineup construction a little bit later. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starts 25th. He's $7,200. He's not bad here at Martinsville. 15th, 20th, 21st, 15th, 25th, 19th, 10th, 10th. But again, it's the price range. You know, Stenhouse this year on short flats, 12th at Phoenix, 15th at Martinsville, 17th at Richmond, 15th at Loudon, and then 23rd at Richmond too. I think he's a decently safe option, but honestly, I'd probably go the next guy, Ryan Newman, starting 27th, $100 less at $7,100. Starts two spots further back. Actually, I don't even know if I would go Ryan Newman over this. They're pretty close. But Ryan Newman, you know, when we think of Ryan Newman, we always think of short flats. He was 19th here at Martinsville in the first race, and that's about where he's been finishing here, even though his you know, he's really fallen off a cliff as far as results. But Martinsville's always been solid for Newman. 19th, 18th, 12th, 10th, 8th, 19th, 14th, 8th, 16th, 10th. We're not going to get a top 10 out of Newman this weekend, but mid-teens finish with some crazy stuff happening. I don't see why not. Erik Jones starts 28th. He's $6,900. Nice. And I actually don't hate Erik Jones this week. 20th at Phoenix this year, 19th at Richmond. He was 19th at New Hampshire and 21st at Richmond too. Obviously, you have to take these results with a grain of salt because most of these were with Joe Gibbs Racing cars. But he did finish 12th here last fall in a JGR car. It's his career best finish here, though. Seems to me like Erik Jones, not a great track for Erik Jones. But, you know, I say I think you need to have exposure to him, especially, you know, you're putting in 20-plus lines. I think you need to have some exposure just because he starts 28th. And if he avoids the carnage, he's shown at short flat tracks this year that he's a top 20 car. So that's why I like Erik Jones. Like, I don't love him, but that's why I could justify picking him. Austin Dillon starts 14th. He's $6,700. I like it just because he starts higher up, and he's not low priced. I think that's going to keep his ownership down, and that's always something you want to look for when it comes to a tournament play, especially a low dollar tournament play. So Austin Dillon here at Martinsville, 14th. He has an 11th. Can he replicate that this year on the short flat tracks? Austin, 17th at Phoenix, 14th at Martinsville, 10th at Richmond, 17th at Loudon, and 11th at Richmond too. I mean, if you can get a top 10 out of him for a driver under 7,000, starting 14th, you gotta like Austin Dillon a little bit this week at this price. I really think so. Cole Custer starts 24th. He's $6,600. You know, Stewart-Haas, this is the package that they're a little bit better in. Custer, 18th in the first Martinsville race, 14th at Loudon. Other than that, though, all the other three short flat tracks were outside the top 20 for Custer. I don't think he's a slam dunk play at $6,600. I really don't. So, he's just not good this year. And he's not great at this track. You know, his best finishes came last year, 13th, but started 15th. Yeah, I just don't. I don't see myself picking too much Cole Custer this weekend. And same with Daniel Suarez. Starts 20th. He's $6,500. See, the problem is now when we're in this range, if you're not getting like legitimate top 10 upside or legitimate place differential upside here, you might as well just go down here because you're going to get about the same amount of points probably. If Custer finishes 20th, wouldn't you rather want to save $600 going with a Corey LaJoie or something than going with Cole Custer? Daniel Suarez, 16th at Richmond, 17th at Richmond 2, 20th at Loudon, 21st at Phoenix. He starts 20th. He's $6,500. I don't see taking the risk. I really don't. Obviously, if you're putting in a ton of lineups, yes, exposure, but I'd keep it low. I really would. Chase Briscoe, 22nd, starts 22nd. He's $6,400. He's not good at this racetrack. Short flats this year. Only one finish better than 22nd. So, no. Ryan Preece, he starts 26th. He's $6,200. I think you have to like Ryan Preece this week because he's decent at this track. He's probably going to get a good chunk of ownership, but 19th, 16th, 26th over his last 5 races. Starts back in 26th. Low, looking at the short flat tracks this year, Ryan Preece, really not that good, honestly. Worse than I expected. 27.6 average finish, 25.6 average running position. I do think he's better at Martinsville than typical short flats, though. So I don't love Preece as a low dollar option, but I think he's viable. Corey LaJoie starts 29th, $6,000. I'll be having a ton of Corey LaJoie this week. You know why? He's actually good here. He was legitimately running top 15 the last race here. And then, I don't remember exactly what happened on pit road with LaJoie. I just know his car got destroyed, and he ended up finishing 37th. But he had a great car here in the spring or whatever, April. He could have legitimately probably challenged for a top 10. Before that, with Go Fast, he was 25th, 18th, and 18th here at Martinsville. He's good at this racetrack. Short flats this year, Corey LaJoie, 27th at Phoenix, 21st at Richmond, 23rd at Loudon, 29th and 37th in the other 2 races, but I think he had issues. I think Corey LaJoie is a great play, starting 29th at $6,000. Chris Buescher starts 15th. He's $5,900. This is where it gets interesting. I actually like Chris Buescher as well in this price range. I'll tell you why. Starts 15th, $5,900. Look at these recent results. 13th, 38th, obviously had an issue. 13th, 12th, 21st, 13th. I like those teen finishes. Chris Buescher on the short flats this year. 18th at Phoenix, 13th at Martinsville. Bad races the other 3. But when you're talking about a guy like Chris Buescher, like you're not going to have consistency like you are with Denny Hamlin. But I think him starting 15th and having Corey LaJoie down there and having Ryan Preece down there, it's gonna lift ownership off of Buescher. So that's why I like rolling the dice with Buescher down there at 59. Because if he can finish 12th, I think don't underestimate starting track position at this racetrack. They start lapping cars quick. And if you're starting 15th, it just ups your chances of staying on the lead lap if this thing goes green for a while. And even in the subsequent runs, it just increases your chances of staying on the lead lap and then being able to finish in the teens at the end. So definitely don't mind Buescher as a tournament play this week. Wouldn't run him in cash, but definite tournament play. Michael McDowell starts 19th. He's $5,700. He's not good at short flat tracks this year. McDowell, 23rd at Phoenix, 31st at Martinsville, 27th at Richmond, 25th at Loudon, 28th at Richmond 2. Recent races here at Martinsville specifically, 31st, 28th, 14th, which was a surprise, 23rd, 31st, 25th, 21st. Starts 19th. He's $5,700. I don't see it working. I really don't. Justin Haley, $5,500. He starts 35th. He actually pops quite a bit in my projections, because he starts 35th. And if there's a couple wrecks, he should finish high 20s. Taking a look at the short flats this year, he was 24th at Phoenix, 35th at Martinsville, 37th at Richmond, 28th at Loudon, and 27th at Richmond 2. Justin Haley, if his car just stays together, he can get top 30. Only problem is this car going to stay together, or is this car just absolute junk? Look at these recent finishes: 37th, 39th, 37th, 38th, 32nd, 36th. That is a concern, is what kind of equipment is he actually running? If you take that out of the equation, and he has a decent car, though, I think he's a good play starting 35th if you're getting down in this price range. Because he's not really a punt. But is he, though, with that equipment? That's just, I wish we knew how. Like I said, take that out of the equation. I really like Haley this week to cap off your lineup. Anthony Alfredo starts 32nd. If you don't trust Haley, then Anthony Alfredo is the next most obvious option, $5,400. But 26th in the first Martinsville race, 26th at Richmond 2, 37th at Phoenix, 31st at Richmond, 32nd at New Hampshire. You know what you're getting with Anthony Alfredo. You just can't expect much. You just hope that he gets through it. You hope that he doesn't wreck. That's all you can hope for. But when he doesn't wreck, he's about a top 30 car, and I trust him more than I do Justin Haley. So, yeah, take that for what it's worth. As far as punts this week, I don't hate them. I really don't. We take a look at recent Martinsville races. This is this year's first race. James Davison finished 22nd. Josh Bilicki finished 23rd. Quinn Houff 24th. J.J. Yaley 25th. Cody Ware 28th. B.J. McLeod 29th. Not bad. Last year's fall race, Timmy Hill finished 29th. J.J. Yaley finished 31st. Josh Bilicki 32nd. The spring race in 2020, Brendan Poole 30th. Obviously, those are no mid-20s, but still, the reason that, punts could work this week is just because of how pricing and who the dominators are going to be. If you need to fit Truex and Hamlin into your lineup, it forces you to punt. And I know Truex and Hamlin are going to project as the two dominators in my projections. And probably the projections are going to want to, and the optimizer is going to want to stuff both of them in there, and probably, like a third dominator, just based on how these numbers play out. And it's gonna spit out two punts. I can almost guarantee it. I don't like that strategy. I think at most you need one punt, or you can have one punt. But you throw in Truex, Hamlin. Let's just try to do it without a punt. You go LaJoy Alfredo, you're at 82.50. Does that get it done? If let's say you go Christopher Bell, of course it's one off of Reddick. See, this build, I don't like the Truex Hamlin builds just because of their price. So it basically does force you to punt and come down here and grab someone. Do you grab a B.J. McLeod? B.J. McLeod was 30th at Phoenix, 28th at Martinsville, 32nd at Richmond, 30th at Loudon, 30th at Richmond 2. Do you roll the dice with him at $4,500 and hope he moves up a couple spots? He's the best shitbox car, the best car of the shitboxes, for sure. You throw in a LaJoy. Now all of a sudden, can you get Blaney in here? Okay. Truex, Hamlin, Blaney, DiBenedetto, LaJoy, McLeod. I don't hate that. I don't, because you get three dominators in there. I think that's the build you need to go with is three dominators. Now, is it going to be Truex, Hamlin, and Blaney? Maybe not. It's just an example. Could you go Christopher Bell, Kevin Harvick? Could you cut off LaJoy here and come down to Alfredo? Go with the Logano. Go with the Keselowski. I wish you could get Blaney right here. I would love this build of Truex, Hamlin, Blaney, Bell. I'd love that. But it forces you to do that. It forces you to either get off of Bell or get off of Alfredo and go Garrett Smithley. But honestly, like I said, I don't hate the initial lineup that I was just messing around with earlier this week when prices came out. I don't hate that at all. Now, what if we do this? Instead of Elliott and instead of Keselowski, we go Christopher Bell and Hamlin. Hamlin, Logano, Blaney, Bell, LaJoy, Alfredo. Or you could even go off of Alfredo, and I don't think I'd go Haley. That's up to you. But what will it take to get to Truex instead of Hamlin? Could go Harvick instead of Logano, or you could go Keselowski and then go, nope. So like at that point, you'd probably just punt and you'd go Smithley or something like that. One of these punts, whatever punt you think is going to be great. I wouldn't go down to McLeod at 45, starting 30th, unless you had to. 45 is a good price if you get 3, solid dominators up there. But if we did this, come down, grab Hamlin. This could be another build. Hamlin, Logano, Blaney, Bell, Stenhouse, McLeod. If you're punting, I don't know. Like I said, this is a tough week. You don't really know what to expect. Make sure you check out my projections, fantasyracingonline.com. It'll have my projected optimal lineup. I can guarantee it's not going to be that great this week. My projected optimal lineup, just because it's going to want to punt. And while I could see it happening, I don't think that is the most likely optimal. So just keep that in mind. I'll put that in the article. But yeah, good luck. Hopefully you learned something in this video. And hopefully you come back next week for the final race of the season. We're at Phoenix next week for the finale. But yeah, enjoy Martinsville. I think this is going to be a very, very entertaining race. I think it has the potential to be a very frustrating race for DFS players and bettors. And that's kind of why I'm planning on sticking, kind of just staying back and watching the race and rolling with my Blaney top 10 bet and hoping that hits. So good luck at Martinsville this week if you play. Yeah, see you next week.